Welcome back to Hannity. That is the latest ad highlighting left-wing hypocrisy. Joining me now with reaction to that much more, South Dakota Senator John Thune. Senator, how are you?
Good evening, Sean. Doing well.
Very different tune back then when George Bush was president over the debt ceiling. You put out a pretty strong statement denouncing the president, what you call this irresponsible rhetoric about default. Why don't you explain that?
Well, what he's been saying, Sean, he told John Harwood of CNBC a few days ago that the financial sector should be concerned because there are people up here who are potentially willing to default on the debt. And it's this sort of fear-mongering and doomsday scenarios that keep coming out of the administration that are going to create disruption in the marketplace. And that's not helpful. He's the President of the United States. He ought to be involved trying to solve this situation. And the fact that he wants this clean debt limit increase is on the wrong side of history. 53 times when the debt limit's been increased, of those 53, 27 involved changes that actually did something to reduce the debt. And the American people, by a 2-to-1 margin, say that if you're going to increase the debt limit, you ought to do something to fix the debt. So the president is just trying to get people all whipped up over this. And the reality is he's completely disengaged from trying to solve the problem.
And isn't it also true that even if we didn't raise the debt ceiling, we would still pay off our debts and our obligations? Isn't this a big lie that's being told? In other words, we have the money coming in to pay that?
There's money coming in every day. We get about $8 billion in every day, about $250 or $60 billion every month. Obviously, we have bills to pay, but clearly trying to create this sense of scare out there among the financial markets and among the American people is completely at odds with what the facts are. The president is on the wrong side of this issue. He ought to be working with us to try and solve the debt problem instead of scaring people about what not raising the debt limit might mean. But obviously, we're going to pay our bills. The United States has always paid its bills. What this simply says is that we think we ought to be doing something to reduce the debt, which is now going to be over $17 trillion here very soon. And the president seems to have no interest in that, even though the debt has doubled on his watch.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. We just discussed in the last segment, and we're just talking about the president has discretion. Now, it's only a 17%, it's a partial government shutdown. 83% is being funded. When you see the way military chaplains have been treated and they can't service our vets and the World War II and Vietnam memorials and Normandy and the death benefits and the VA and satellite feeds and commissaries, all of this, do you think the president purposely is doing this to make his point about the government shutdown? Because he has the discretion not to do that, does he not?
Oh, I don't think there's any question that the administration is trying to maximize the pain of the American people with regard to this shutdown. And all those things that you just mentioned, we've tried to move bills in the Senate that have been passed by the House that would fund Head Start, would fund National Institutes of Health, fund National Guard and Reserve, fund national parks, all these things that they're getting up and making a big deal about. The House of Representatives has sent bills to the Senate that would fund those. They're sitting at the desk of the United States Senate right now. All the Senate has to do is pick them up and pass them, but the Democrat majority is objecting to that.
Senator,
so
go ahead.
Clearly, they are trying to use this to maximize the pain of the American people and to try to rally people to their support and to their side. But I think the American people get it.
I think the worst thing that Republicans can do at this point is give in to this tactic where a president says he'll talk to the leaders of Iran, but he won't talk to the Republican leaders. I think the worst thing that could happen is you Republicans give in to that bullying, frankly. What's your reaction?
Well, I just think it's outrageous that he can't negotiate or be willing to sit down with the leaders of the Congress, and particularly the Republican leaders. The president has drawn this line in the sand. I'm not going to negotiate, period. So the Democrats in the United States Senate are echoing the president, saying we're not going to negotiate because the president's not going to negotiate. And I just think, again, the American people by a 2-to-1 margin say that if you're going to raise the debt limit, you ought to do something about the debt. They also think that the president ought to be involved in trying to solve this fiscal crisis that we're involved in right now. But the president of the United States has been missing in action and clearly is more interested, I think, in playing political games and gaining political advantage from this than he is in really trying to fix the issue.
All right, Senator, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it, as always.
Thanks, Sean.